This is actually their headquarters in London. They have this amazing space downstairs. This is Jacqueline Hurst, who is an incredible life coach. She specialises in eating issues, body confidence, but today we're also going to grill her on social media. I'm Nadine Baggott. I'm a YouTuber. You know me, I think. You should know me anyway, especially if you're looking on that phone there. If you follow me on Instagram, you can follow us all on Instagram and join in on the conversation. Space NK asked us earlier on to send in some questions, so we do have some questions, but you can ask questions live as well. And the topic tonight is Blue Monday. Today, I'm sure you know, it's been all over the news. It's supposedly the most depressing day of the year, and there's been a huge conversation about it on social media today. We want to know if that is the case, why it is the case, but more importantly, how you can overcome it. Welcome.
Hi.
We've got this sort of theory about Blue Monday, haven't we? Because I asked you earlier on.
Yeah.
It started, I think, in 2005. A doctor at Cardiff University came up with this really random equation which takes into account the days from Christmas, which is basically, so we're now, 2.5 weeks out of Christmas, the depressing weather, your motivation,
Credit card
bills as opposed to how much you owe, so your bills are coming in after Christmas. And then finally, New Year's resolutions that you failed up. Anyway, then he comes up with this kind of Big Bang Theory, Sheldon Cooper kind of thing that needs to be written up, which you and I have decided we can possibly do.
We can.
No, exactly. And then you work out how supposedly at this time of year we're all more miserable than ever. So today at this moment. So we're suggesting you snuggle up on the sofa with your loved ones and your phone and listen to Jacqueline, because Jacqueline's got all the answers for you. She's brilliant. So, because you believe it's mind over matter.
I'm a big believer, everyone, and Nadine obviously, in mind over matter, and we can be told that it's Blue Monday and it's also terrible and it's really depressing, and we can go down that route, in your brain and your thinking.
That rabbit hole.
Exactly. And you can consistently go down that and it just gets kind of worse and worse and worse. Or you can choose to think about it differently.
Well, I think it's very interesting. One of the things I said to you earlier on before we started this was, is it true that 40% of your happiness is within your control? And your answer was?
My answer was 100% of your happiness is in your control.
And this is beyond the fact that terrible things might happen to all of us at some time in our lives. We might suffer the death of a loved one or divorce or something like that. But how you react to it is still within your control.
I think it's not just how you react to it. I'm a really big believer in your thinking creates how you feel. So how you feel creates what you do or don't do, your actions, and then your actions create your outcomes. So it's kind of like a loop like that. So a lot of the time...
So you could get into a negative loop or a positive loop.
Exactly. Or you could even get into a neutral loop. Sometimes when we're really stuck in that negative, even if we can just move along to a neutral, it's better than going, into a positive that's sort of even unrealistic, one would say.
So give me an example of how you get out of a negative loop. Say at this time of year, you have given up on some of your New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
And one of the questions we had was, I'm really tired, how do I get back to promising myself I'm going to exercise regularly? Tell me how you get out of that. I'm on the sofa feeling sorry for myself.
Sure, so you've probably got a negative loop going around in your brain saying, I can't be bothered. That's probably a very common thought right now. It is cold outside, we have dark winter nights really early, and so that thought process is, I can't be bothered. Now when we're thinking I can't be bothered, we're probably feeling a little bit deflated, I would say. And when we feel deflated, the actions are, I probably don't do anything. I probably sit on a sofa and do nothing. And the outcome is, surprise, surprise, nothing. Now you're stuck in that place, not because it's cold outside, you're stuck in that place because your thought process is, I can't be bothered. And with a thought like that, we're never going to go anywhere. So the work that I'm interested in doing is mindset, mind over matter. So if we want a different outcome, it's all very well trying to change the outcome or change the actions, but in my opinion, unless we get our mind right, we're never going to change anything. So once we're aware that we're thinking, I can't be bothered, that's actually the first step. And sometimes that's a process in and of itself because it takes time to get really conscious about what we're thinking. When we are conscious of that, we then realise what we're doing to ourselves, right? We're going, oh my gosh, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm stuck in this negative loop, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to feel deflated. Now, the most amazing thing about understanding your mind is that you have got the power to create how you feel. So if you want to feel deflated, I'm going to say stay on the sofa, knock yourself out, and sit in that place of I can't be bothered. Knowing you have a choice, I think, is quite powerful. So being able to say, right, if I think I can't be bothered and I remain deflated and defeated almost, that's not going to get me anywhere. So how can I think about this differently? And that's one of my favourite questions to say to myself, especially with my clients and how I work, is how can we think about this differently if you want to change how you feel, what you do, and the outcome?
One of the questions I was asked was how to find motivation at this time of the year. And I came up with a really simple solution for me, and actually it does fit into you, and that is I'm a list maker. And I think the secret is if you want to set yourself a goal, break the goal down into achievable mini goals, write a list and then tick them off. And I even con myself. First thing I put on my list every single morning, because I have a list every single morning of things I've got to do, I've already done. So I've just got the pleasure of scrubbing it off. And it sort of tricks my mind into thinking that I've already achieved something. And it's almost like that's a little trick of mine to get yourself into that positive upward spiral.
Yeah.
And is it the same as well? Do you think goals should be broken down into miniature goals?
I think that's a great idea. I think, when we say to ourselves, right, I'm going to, do this by then, and it's short time and it's unrealistic, I'm going to say, why would you do that to yourself?
You set yourself up for failure, don't you?
Absolutely, and that's another conversation in and of itself. But to take a goal a step at a time, baby steps. Baby steps are always great. I remember my grandma, who was a big influence in my life, she always used to say to me that it was a great quote. She said, out of small acorns, huge oak trees grow. And I remember that saying, and I think it's absolutely right. Sometimes just baby steps, you can have this amazing thing from breaking it down and taking it slowly. I do think we are in this place in this generation too, where we view success, especially on social media, and we look at it and it looks like somebody had that like overnight, but you don't realise a lot of the time that that's taken years, for that person to get there. And there's been struggles and there's been drops and ups and downs and rounds again to get to that place. So that's also important to remember.
One of the questions that came in as well was how to make social media a positive influence in your life, because I agree it's so easy to get drawn into this. Everybody, you see the edited highlights of somebody's life on social media, you don't see all the struggles.
Sure.
And you don't see all the mess under the table, you just see the perfect laid table. And I just think sometimes it's hard not to get dragged into everybody having a perfect life and comparing your life and thinking mine isn't as good as that. What's your advice to interacting with social media in a creative, positive way?
I think you have choices. I think your first choice is to either A, get your mind right about what you're looking at. So are you able to look at things in the right mindset? In other words, this person looks beautiful or whatever it might be, and that doesn't mean that I'm not, right? Or, you could view it and think about it differently. Or you're in control of your social media. You get to choose who you follow and who you unfollow.
That was what I was saying to you. I confide in you that since I've left magazines and worked in the digital field, I've started to edit my own feed, and I only follow famous people that don't filter or face tune themselves. And I find them really life affirming because I'm seeing them being real. Even if they are beautiful, they are still real and unedited. And I find that lifts my spirit. I don't kind of close my phone down and think, oh, why don't I look like that anymore?
Right.
I look at women who are my age, who are proud of their age and don't filter or face tune themselves.
I think that's really important to understand that you are in control of that and you can do that. And
your first answer, which was brilliant, which was if you don't edit your feed, you can interact with it in a different way. What's the trick to flicking your mind and not comparing yourself to this perfect life that's been put out?
But I think first and foremost, it's really important to remember that we are looking at perfect, right? So
edited highlights
of somebody's highlight reel, and that's important to know that for a start. So we're not really getting an all-round real view of this person's everyday life. We're getting a snippet of a quick picture where you look beautiful, and that's great too, but just be aware of that. I love Vogue. I'm a big Vogue reader because I like to see the fashions and the makeup and this kind of thing. But I'm also very aware that when I do pick up that magazine, that it has been airbrushed, it has been photoshopped, and it's very likely that the girls on the front of the magazine are 17, 18, 19. So when I look at that picture, I'm very aware of what I'm looking at, and I'm not looking at it going, oh, I wish I was that, and this looks big. You know, I remember one great saying from Cindy Crawford, and she said, you know, even I don't wake up looking like Cindy Crawford in the morning, and I'm Cindy Crawford, and I just think that's a great comment.
Some of the people I really love following on Instagram as well they do all their little Insta lives and their Insta stories, and then they do this sort of filtered thing, and then every so often they go, oh, by the way, my life isn't really like this, and then they turn their phone around and you see their kitchen and their children going crazy and their dog sort of, you know, barking to get out, and the food all left on the side. And I love that as well, and I think the more people, from my point of view, I don't filter and face tune myself as well, I think it's really important that more and more women stand up and show the reality of their life.
I think being authentic is really important. I feel that, you know, there's a lot of the same stuff out there, like it's the same look, it's the same, you know, lips and highlighting and this and that, and I wonder where we've seemed to have lost originality, we've seemed to have lost that. Where are the people that are being themselves and being comfortable with themselves? And if you're struggling with this kind of thing, there are a lot out there, you've just got to look for it, you've got to find it on social media, it is there. But if that's the thing that's important to you, you know, we were just talking about age recently, just before when we were sitting down, and we were saying, you know, we're both at a certain age where there's not that much out there. We're looking at younger people, and where do we find that information? And slowly, I think if you look and you scroll and you can find it.
You can edit your own feed.
Absolutely.
I actually think two of the most positive movements within social media at the moment are the inclusion of the body positive movement for women of all shapes and sizes.
Absolutely.
And then the skin positive movement, where you get a celebration of all skin colours as well.
Yeah.
And I think that what you really want to see is yourself reflected back, and that's what those movements do really well. You work with body positivity a lot, don't you?
I do. I'm really big on body positivity, and
if at this time of year you are feeling deflated because maybe you've overindulged at Christmas, how do you forgive yourself and just move forward?
Yeah, it's a really good question actually. I mean, I was just saying to you, I've just come back from my honeymoon, and we definitely overindulged.
The most amazing place.
And we definitely, both of us definitely overindulged, and you know, and we have both of us been doing it quite a bit from, you know, coming back and it's cold, and you know, who wants to eat a salad when it's freezing cold outside and it's a Sunday? No, thank you. And there does come a time where, with this kind of stuff, you've really got to find some kindness around this.
Be kind to yourself.
Be kind to yourself, because actually these things, in the big grand scheme of things, you know, it doesn't. You eating something heavy on a Sunday afternoon is okay. You know, you putting on a few pounds over Christmas, it's okay. You know, I think we, especially as women, we attach so much of our worth to our shape of our body, and when we start to unravel that process, it's really important to say, you know what, this body positive stuff, it's a choice to make, and saying, right, how can I start that process of ultimately liking myself, and making the choice to say, I'm choosing today to look in the mirror having overindulged at Christmas, and still saying I'm okay, I'm a good person, I'm kind, I'm considerate, etc., etc. I'm not this, you know, and I can't say those words because I'm live from Space NK, I'm not this awful, terrible person that needs to, you know, you just don't. And I think that Janine Roth, I mentioned her name to you before, she says with things like this, we have to be unspeakably kind to ourselves. And I really love that, of like being really kind and really gentle, like it's all okay.
Yeah. I also think sometimes as well that the way we should speak to ourselves, the way we speak to our friends.
Huge.
So some of my friends come in and they go, oh, I'm feeling so fat today, or I'm feeling so spotty today, and the instant reaction to that is, you're my friend, I adore you, you're amazing.
Right.
Okay, so who cares? Nobody's really noticing. You look incredible today, or you're really smart, or you're really funny, or no, you haven't put on weight, I couldn't possibly notice. But we don't give ourselves the same kindness.
Yeah, I think we also have to remember that, you know, and I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but you know, we do live in a society which is, you know, ageless, we mustn't age, we mustn't be over a certain size, and you know, there's a lot of pressure on women and also on men. And I think when we, again, are mindful and are aware of the society that we live in that constantly tells us that, like, you are this, you know, you need to have this, you need to have that, and then you'll be okay. When we understand that, we give ourselves a moment to kind of stop and reflect and go, actually, that might not be right. I might be okay as I am.
Well, the one thing I can say about getting older is you do learn to kind of let it all go as you get older. You begin to realise that you're more than your external appearance. And you become much more about your achievements, your relationships, your friendships, your career goals, your family, your friends, all that sort of stuff.
And I wish that we had more of that in society, where we were teaching, you know, especially young people, that actually what's really important is that person compassionate? Are they empathetic? Are they kind? Are they honest? Like, those things matter so much more than your face, and that's the truth. You know, we just don't hear it enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We judge somebody so much, I think, externally and through social media by just the superficial external.
And then we assume that because this person looks perfect, that they must have this perfect life.
And that they're kind people.
And they're kind and amazing and everything's great and they never have any problems.
Yes.
And that's not true, guys.
Right, let's have a look at some more questions. How do I create time for myself if I'm really busy? 3 children, job, career.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people in that place. And what I'm going to say is baby steps. Even if it isn't, you know, 3 hours on a Saturday, and you can grab 5 minutes or 10 minutes in the morning to just stop, maybe try some meditation, find some ways just to drop a little, relax a little. I'm going to say read a book, you know, that's like a really,
get in the bath,
something, you know,
close
even a
the
shower,
door.
like a hot shower, shut the door, put some really cool music on, you know, just give yourself a little bit of something. It's better than nothing.
Some of the most dynamic women I know, and I can't believe they do this, but they do, and this is so not me, they get up before their children get up and get their exercise in before their children even wake up. They are the super,
dedication.
They are the super women.
That's
in life.
dedication.
I know,
Guys,
absolutely.
Dedication.
But they're always the women who, at the end of the day, seem to have more energy.
Yeah.
The energy they've put into their exercise and their fitness, which they see as being part of themselves.
For them, it's probably a self-care thing, and I think, you know, again, it's how you do it that matters. If you're getting up because you've got to keep your shape, and
it's Davina McCall was the person who she does it, and I'm always very impressed. But when I interviewed her, she said, "This isn't about me punishing myself. This is about me giving to me, looking after myself, investing in my health for the future as well."
Great,
really
which is great, you know, which is great. I mean, she's had a really hard time recently about, you know, her body and the six-pack, and you know, it's another thing about this.
She looks incredible.
Well, I think the thing is that we, you know, this is the thing around body positivity, is that we just don't judge, right? And we just are learning to say, you know what, I'm not going to judge you for your six-pack. You know, you're not going to judge me for the shape of my bottom, you know, or my hips. And actually, the minute we stop judging people on what they look like in the shape of their body, the better we're going to be.
And again, it's that trick you were saying about that getting into that positive or neutral mindset. I think to have a positive or a neutral language around body type and not to judge, because as women, I think we're often trained to judge other women and to be competitive for attention. And I think actually, if you just step back and don't judge other people, that's the beginning of getting into that positive mindset.
100%. It's really important, because you know, you're only judging other people if you're judging yourself.
Yes.
Right. So if you're not judging yourself, then why would you care about someone's stomach?
Yes.
You know. So that's really
doesn't affect you in any way
at all.
Yeah.
You know, and if you want to have a six-pack, great. If you don't want to have a six-pack, great. You know, I think if we could like be a little bit kinder to each other, I think things could be really cool.
I think kindness is
something
key.
to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think one of the keys, I would like to say I'm a naturally happy person, and I think I am, but one of the things I always think I'm really grateful for is that, and I think it's one of the secrets, is I find pleasure in little things.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's a really good thing.
If you're not that person, and I think it's partly to do with the way I was raised and the ideas that my parents instilled in me, if you're not that person and you can't take pleasure from little things, how do you retrain your brain? How do you trick your mind into not looking for the big things but for the little things?
Do you know, I'm giving you guys loads of my favourite sayings today, I've got quite a few, but one of them is you can't be miserable and grateful at the same time, right? You cannot be miserable and grateful at the same time. So in which case, if you don't want to be miserable, get grateful. And I'm a big believer in gratitude.
Yeah.
You know,
is it that sort of half glass full, half glass empty mentality, or is that oversimplifying it?
well, I just think it's about being conscious of what's amazing in your life. And I think we take a lot for granted.
Yes.
Like, seriously, as simple as like, I can have a glass of water. I mean, I know that sounds really small, but that's massive. We forget how big that is, you know. Have a roof over my head. You know, we can sit in some warmth tonight and do this together. Like, little tiny things that you're grateful for can really help boost your mood and help you feel better.
Isn't there a famous saying that in life you should take notice of the little things because at the end you realise they're the big things? Or so there's a really famous Instagram meme somewhere, and I think it's so true.
It's very true.
Yeah.
And I think, you know,